We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our 2025 Self-Direction Virtual Conference Series. My name is Ines Rosas. I am a senior consultant at Applied Self-Direction. For my visual description, I am Latina. I have long, dark brown, curly hair, and I'm wearing glasses. And today I'm wearing a black shirt. Thank you again for joining us for the seventh session in our conference series, Self-Direction for the Long Haul. I'm going to run through a few housekeeping tips before we begin. Due to the volume of attendees, participant microphones have been muted and will remain muted. There is a toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom window with a few options you can use throughout the webinar. There is a React button that you can use to submit reactions or emojis throughout the presentation. We welcome those. You can also submit questions and comments at any time during the session by using the Q&A button in the same toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom window. We have time reserved at the end of the session for your questions, and we will address as many of them as we can, as many as possible at the end of the session. Closed captions and translation are available for the presentation. You can access those closed captions by clicking on the CC button or choosing Show Captions. This session is also being recorded and will be available on our website as well as the slides. The month of April is sponsored by PPL, and thank you to all our sponsors. To start off, we'd love to know who's in attendance today, so take a moment to answer our first poll question by telling us how you would describe your role within self-direction. And I'll give folks a bit of time to submit their answers. Everyone is doing it already so quickly, thank you. And I'll share some results in the end. So far, it's looking like we have a great diverse group here. Majority, we got 34% FMS entities, 24% state staff, 17% family or friend of a self-directing participant. And the numbers just keep going up. I'll go ahead and share the results real quick so you can see. Thank you, everyone. Oh, nice. And 8% support brokers too, 10% case managers. Thank you all so much for being here. We're all excited for this topic and presentation, especially. I will now turn things over to Victoria McMullen to get us started. Victoria is the designated representative for her son, Ron McMullen, who is a self-directed supports user.
Hi. For my visual description, I have short gray hair and glasses. I'm wearing a flowered blouse. I've been Ron's designated representative for 25 years, and my main role in life has been to be Ron's mom. But I also have a PhD in special ed and have taught in a program for teachers to learn how to teach individuals with severe developmental disabilities and autism. Ron was supposed to be presenting, and right before we got on, he said he was tired and wanted to go to bed. So we do have a care staff, a DSP with him right now, and if he gets up, we will have him join. Jesse?
Hi, my name is Jessie Calloway. For my visual description, I am Caucasian, I have short brown hair, and I'm wearing a purple sweater. I was a student of Victoria in that program she described for teaching students with severe developmental disabilities and autism. I'm a former special education teacher, and I've worked with Ron for the past 9 years, most recently as a community specialist.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, my name is Ariana Pettit. I'm a direct support professional. I've done this for about 9 years and I've supported Ron for the last 3. My visual description is that I'm a white woman with long brown hair and bangs, tortoiseshell glasses, and a white medical mask, as well as a black shirt.
Okay, well, we will get started. Okay, so here is Ron's description. And we are purposely describing him in medical terms and deficits right now. Clinically, he can be described as a 46-year-old man with hydrocephaly and mixed type cerebral palsy that was secondary to extreme prematurity. He has autism and functions in the severe to moderate range of intellectual disability with receptive language about 4 years. He has a variety of visual deficits and a number of medical conditions that cause him chronic discomfort or pain. These include allergies to dust, mold, and particularly oak pollen. It's oak pollen season in St. Louis right now. He has osteoarthritis, TMJ, and epistomatitis, which is severe multiple mouth ulcers. He needs support in all areas of self-care. He's unable to prepare food for himself, and he needs ongoing positive behavior support, particularly when his pain moves beyond his level of being able to self-regulate. Next slide. However, to Ron's friends and family, he is someone who has far surpassed the expectations that everyone had for him when he was adopted at 5 years old. We were told he would never walk, he would never talk. He actually did have 3 words when he came to live with us, but they weren't very functional. Howdy, quack, quack, and 4. As a special educator, and my husband's also a special educator, we kept a vocabulary log for about a year. When we hit 1,000, we stopped counting the number of words he could say or use. When he was in his 20s and 30s, we created a daily schedule for him that included supported work, supported volunteer work, eating lunch with people in the quad on Webster University's campus, and then swimming in the campus pool. He also, at least once a semester, spoke in special education classes and told teachers, future teachers, general and special ed, that people like him were going to be in their classes, and how that had happened and what it looked like for him. When he was not healthy, and this was particularly important to us, he stayed home with the support staff. The individualized supports that we created for him allowed him not to be a case, a client, a square peg in that round hole. He has a life, and it's a meaningful life, and I think it has lessons to teach us. I also often said that Ron was my teacher, but he frequently gave the test before he taught the lesson. So there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve for self-directed support too. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Next slide.
Ron received a Medicaid comprehensive waiver in the year 2000. It was actually the only Department of Mental Health waiver available at the time. And Ron was one of the first 4 people to receive it. So at the time, he received 30 hours a week of direct support professional services, which did increase over time, 21 hours a week with a home health care agency. He received 50 hours a year of community specialist services. If you're not familiar with community specialist, that's what I do. You could consider a community specialist. It's a very broad title, but it can encompass things like supporting data collection, supporting the individual in going out into the community, finding activities to connect them more, and just generally help improve quality of life. He received physical therapy for 1 hour a week. And when Ron was 25, his parents moved to a house with a walkout basement. They received home modification and adaptive equipment funding at $10,000 to help renovate the basement into an accessible apartment for Ron. Ron also received a few other types of funding. So he received SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as food stamps, and then HIP is the Health Insurance Premium Payment Program, which is a program that allows the family's employer to supplement the health insurance. Next slide. Oh, thank you. And now Ron at 46, 25 years later. I think we can all agree that 25 years has done a lot of things to a lot of us. It's a long time. So his health and lifestyle has changed significantly over that time. He now experiences a lot of effects of long COVID. So due to his cerebral palsy and the long COVID, he's experienced some struggles recently, and he does have accelerated aging. He's no longer walking. He stopped that at around age 40 after the severe case of COVID, but he can still transfer with standby support, and he uses a wheelchair. He spends about 12 hours a day in bed, but he's not necessarily sleeping. That's where he is right now. His sleep schedule is unstable and he naps frequently. And initially, he gained a decent amount of weight when he stopped walking, but a couple of his current staff are really into fitness and nutrition and healthy living, and they've actually created a great plan to help reverse that. And we now track his nutrition and his calorie intake and all of that.
Next slide. Yeah.
Ron's language has continued to expand over the years, but he may still resort to screaming when the pain is overwhelming. Due to his pain and fatigue, he goes out into the community much less frequently, about once a week, and he has a pretty wide range of activities that staff engage with him at home. In this slide, we have two videos with some examples that we would definitely love to show you. There we go. Ron loves music. Let me see. Ron loves music. He can do this anywhere between 5 minutes to an hour, depending on his mood. It is something that truly delights him. Hold on.
So the drum is usually done to patriotic music.
Yeah, the drum is usually done to very joyful, patriotic music. He also will do it to country music occasionally. I'm sorry, could we please go back to the original slide? Ron continues to have multiple PA staff and an extended network of friends that provide Ron with the physical and behavioral supports he needs to have a meaningful life. Could we also show the second video of his other favorite activity?
I'm so sorry, I'm struggling. I'm getting there.
No, I am also having trouble. My notes have disappeared.
Oh,
But let's go ahead and show this one.
I'm going.
So this is pencil sharpening. This is an activity Ron loves. It's both benefits his physical support, his fine motor skills, but it's also meaningful to him because he can sharpen pencils for every single teacher that he knows, which is a lot. He knows quite many educators.
oh, perfect. Where does it go? Where does it go?
Liz.
We could tell Liz. Yeah, the pencils go to Liz's class?
Yes.
Yep. So you have to put them in the box. I'm gonna
And then we can continue on to the next slide. So Ron's funding in his 20s. So the Medicaid comprehensive waiver, he gets 105 hours of personal assistance per week. That's what I do. He gets 21 hours a week from the home healthcare agency. Now, this is the same work, but it's funded through a different waiver. Now, community specialist, 30 hours a year. That's what Jesse does. Team collaboration for 120 hours a year. This is for team meetings, so we can get together, discuss what Ron needs, how we should move forward, what his behavioral and support needs are, and just make sure we're all on the same page going the next 6 months or so. Physical therapy, he does this an hour a week. This helps him support his transfers, his physical maintenance and quality of life, and helps with his pain as well, with his cerebral palsy. For music therapy, he does 3 hours a month. We typically do this once or twice a week in 30-hour increments. This is deeply ingrained in Ron's life from sun up to sundown. It has taught him many life skills, and it's a really valuable school, both for self-regulation of his pain and for joy. It brings a lot of engagement in his life. His adaptive equipment funding was utilized to purchase a bath lift when he was more mobile to reduce stress. As he has aged, Ron cannot take a bath without the lift, so this has shown to be a really great choice. Now, his overnight incontinence supplies are also supported. Due to his rapid aging issues, he has quickly, over several months, developed incontinence problems, and this required some time to develop a system of management. The financial support we have for this is gloves, briefs, and wipes. Other funding he receives is SSI, the Supplemental Security Income, SSA, Social Security, SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, excuse me, as well as HIP, the Health Insurance Premium Payment Program.
Okay. So one of the tools that I cannot imagine living without is Ron's support manual. In his last year of schooling, a friend who had known him since we adopted him, who was also a special ed teacher, and I created a 1-inch binder manual that had information on medical conditions, communication style, positive behavior support. It also had task analyses of daily living skills, written in a way that people who were not teachers could understand. His support manual includes a list of connection tools and an activity list of things to do at home. Now, his support manual now is in a 2-inch binder. What? It's big. But most recently, and I know you can't see this, but we transferred it. We still use the manual with new staff. They can read it and refer to it in the moment, but we also have it on Ron's Google Drive. He has his own Gmail, which he needs assistance to access. But we use the Google Drive to store things and to update them. So this was particularly important when his brother became his successor guardian. His brother lives in Detroit, but he has access to everything. So if I was reading what things are in here, there's activities of daily living, there's communication, there's his positive behavior support plan, There's music activities, cooking activities, art activities, how to take Ron swimming, how to go to the movies with Ron, how to go to a restaurant. All of those things are 1 or 2 page descriptions. So that's the first part of every staff being trained. And I want to mention that in the last 25 years, we've trained over 100 staff. So we don't have to make it up each time. We have a checklist for new staff where they go through and they say, I've received training on this, or I need more help on this. And we'll either schedule them time with me or time with Jesse or just time with another staff. One of the things I can't do anymore is I can't train someone to give Ron a bath because of my own physical conditions. So that's a time when we use team collaboration to have some reciprocal staff training. I'm still there, but I'm not kneeling on the floor helping Ron wash his hair. We have staff, all staff go through sections of the manual intermittently throughout the year, checking to see if there's updates we need to make or just reminding people, oh, I haven't tried whispering with him when he's upset lately. So it's just a really good tool. We also make sure after about 3 months, I have the community specialist come in and we have staff do a self-evaluation with her. So it's not as anxiety producing as doing it with mom. And they can both identify things they're doing well, things they need help on, and they set goals at that time. Because of self-direction, in that first year, I give raises every 3 months for the first year. It's not a lot, but it shows that we're recognizing the staff's growth as they learn how to be with Ron. Next slide. So, after we sent this in, I realized fidelity of staff training. Boy, is that academic jargon. How do we make sure everybody's doing the same thing the same way? Ron's had over 100 employees. Now, that would not be everybody's choice. It was my husband and my choice because we were both working. And if one person quit, if we had 3 people working and they were all working 40 hours a week and one of them quit, our life would quickly fall apart. So we've chose to have, I think currently we have 10 staff. And some of them, they worked with Ron when they were freshmen and sophomores in college, and they stayed with him after they went on into their adult life, their professional jobs. And it might be once every other week, an evening shift. They've chosen to keep that connection. And those people, even after they're gone, because the average length of a staff for us, because I use students. is 2 to 3 years. Ari is an exception to that. Ari, this is her job. And we would be very, very sad if she was gone. Our lives wouldn't fall apart anymore, but most of the people are students, and they tend to be around for 2 to 3 years. But they have been around as long as 7 to 11 years. And they're still in Ron's life 20 to 25 years later. And we're going to talk about how we keep those connections. So the support manual is regularly updated. We use team meetings to train, collaborate, and problem solve. Our most significant training issues are bathing. So we have the person, the new staff, see a variety of people do it. People use all sorts of different strategies. I remember there was someone who worked with Ron, and he would keep turning on the water. And she convinced him that he couldn't do that because he was going to use up all the water in the whole city. And a lot of people adopted that, and he stopped turning it on. Ron has dysarthria, which is caused by different levels of spasticity in the vocal apparatus. And so it's unique, a little garbled, and it takes a while to understand it. And then on top of that, because of his autism, he uses truly unique ways to ask for things. Sometimes it takes a number of us time to figure out what he's saying. When he first started asking for Jaka, we didn't know what that meant. It's Frere Jacques. That's what he wants to listen to. He wants to sing Frere Jacques, and we insert different people's names in it. But his language is unique, and it has to be, all the little nuances have to be learned. So this mind map is I'm trying to think this is his medical dental mind map. So Ron likes to start conversations with a single word: Pam. And if you don't know who Pam is, it just kind of dies there. But we have lots of these conversation maps for him. And Pam was his first PT, his first PT. And so you can say, oh, what did you do with Pam? Exercises. What else did you do? Learn to walk. Why did you need help learning to walk? Got CP. What's CP? Brain damage. And he has all of this, but it's how does he do it? It's like you ask a question, and he'll give you everything he knows related to that topic until he comes to the right answer. So these are really useful in people learning to talk with Ron. One of the people in his life recently made a timeline and just listed every teacher, therapist, and what they did with him since he was 5. And he talks about Roxana Lamb, his first teacher. So you have to know who that is or where to look. Ron's problem behavior mostly consists of yelling now when he's in pain. Previously, there was aggression and self-injury. He's at risk for self-injury. intervene pretty fast if he's having trouble self-regulating, because he does have a lot of pain. And he used to have, I don't think anybody's had this issue in a number of years, but he used to have a lot of problem behavior on car rides home. And so that's another use we have of the community specialist. He never has problem behavior in car rides with mom. So I can't teach anybody because it doesn't happen. So anybody who's going to drive Ron needs some specific training of the strategies we use to help him cope. So, I mean, this other example of his feet and specialized pain medication for his feet is listed out as part of his morning routine, and how it's done and where. And that's all in the support manual. Okay, next slide.
Another
Yeah.
tool we use is, we call it a paper logbook. We use this because the EBV logs aren't accessible from staff to staff. So if Ari leaves, the next afternoon person can't see what she wrote in her notes. So what we use is this paper log to communicate with each other and track historically any trends that we might need to pay attention to with his bathroom habits or activities that he's able to do each night. So we track times medication was administered, how often he's been asleep, urinary and bowel movement occurrences. We used to track Ron's diet on the paper log, but now I mentioned earlier, he's on a fitness journey. So he does use MyFitnessPal for his diet instead, because it allows us to more easily track the nutrients. This also allows staff to really quickly learn Ron's status. So you'll see, it's a little hard to read, but you'll see a code on there. A is active, P is participating, C is cooperative, and non-cooperative are refusing, B, bed, and S, sleeping. So we use a code like that for each hour. So staff can come in and see, oh, Ron's been in his bed, but not asleep for the last 3 hours. So that may prompt them to go check on him and see if he needs some water, or maybe wants to transition to his chair out in the living room. It's a really helpful tool that definitely is used every single day by all the staff. You can go to the next slide. Another two tools that we use are Google Calendar and GroupMe. So Google Calendar is used for scheduling purposes. Victoria uses this to schedule staff shifts. So usually, since she said a lot of her employees are students, she schedules out generally on a semester-long basis. So the morning shift and the afternoon shift are on here, and staff can log in and see that. If they need to see who's working, they may want to switch shifts with somebody or anything like that. And speaking of switching shifts, we use GroupMe, which is a messaging app where staff can talk to each other about, can anybody take this shift for me? I'm unavailable. Or Victoria or myself can send out an update like, hey, we're no longer using this foot brace. Please be sure to check his closet for the new shoes. New routines, new medications, things like that, so that all staff can be alerted at the same time and have that to look back on. Next slide.
So Ron's networks and connection tools. Ron has a pretty wide circle of people in his life. Like we said before, friends, former classmates, former employees, and extended families. Now, previously, he would host parties a few times a year, have dinner frequently with friends, attend karaoke weekly every Friday night, and volunteer at Webster University. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So his sleep schedule is unstable, and he's often much too fatigued to go out in the community. So we relied more heavily on other tools, phone calls, as well as a adapted telephone book that he can personally look at, Facebook and Snapchat's accounts. And one of the most interesting things is what we have pictured here, the birthday book. Now, this is actually a binder of birthday cards for every single person he knows. We have a stamp with his name on it, pre-printed labels with his phone number and a little message, so he can very easily draw, decorate, and stamp his own cards with minimal support. These are a really great way for him to stay connected and have something to engage with. Now, he has invites during spring break, so people will come to visit, say hi, have a little meetup, right? Many of his friends are former employees, and his birthday usually falls around spring break, so that really works out. Another thing is Cousins Day. So this is something that happens in the family after Thanksgiving. It's a huge potluck with all of his cousins. Rod loves his cousins and he loves talking about his cousins all the time. So this is very exciting for him.
This is yours, Ari.
Oh, is it? It was listed under your name, but I'm fine with doing it. So he
Okay.
has daily therapies, physical and music therapy with an extension. Sorry. He has therapy, so he has physical and music therapy. I'm so sorry. Let me start over. So he has physical therapy and music therapy. These are typically done weekly. Music is sometimes bi-weekly, but we as staff try to do other things to support and engage with to tie into these. So we will do bench stretches in the morning. This helps retain certain abilities to do transfers. We do music all day, every day, like we saw earlier with the drumming. We sing songs. Occasionally, I'll even get him to sing karaoke with me. Communicating with friends and family via the connection tools. So, like we said before, Facebook, Snapchat, phone, and of course, he loves to pick out music. We have many custom audio tapes for him of extended a favorite is Farajaka. So we have many different people who have created their own audios of people he personally knows singing Farashaka. Weekly, we have art activities such as drawing. We have paint sticks. He likes to do those. Cooking activities. He'll sometimes help us mix up a bowl, help put ingredients together. Games, he loves to play tic-tac-toe. We play whack-a-mole. That's pretty fun. And Yahtzee. Now, he has his own special style of Yahtzee in which we try to get the highest score, but he loves rolling the dice. He loves watching sports and videos. He loves a baseball game. It's very engaging and exciting for him. For chores, this has kind of gone down since his physicality has been reduced, but he does help wipe down his side table where he keeps all of his snacks and his drinks. And he'll occasionally help me fold um, a shirt or two, right? And we try to get out once a week, typically through a drive-through in a restaurant. And then swimming, he will do this. We try to do this once a month where he'll go out with someone to the pool and take a dip.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no
Next
problem.
one. So here's the question that other parents ask me. What are you going to do? Well, how long are you going to do this? You've been doing this 25 years. How long do you think you can do this? Because of Ron's physical condition and because of what the doctors have told us, we think it's highly unlikely that mom and dad will die before Ron. But when mom and dad and both grandmas and his sister and his aunt and uncle were all on the same plane to go to his brother's wedding, it suddenly struck us that if this plane went down, there was going to be a problem. While we were waiting on the tarmac, I called a staff and said, if anything happens, you just move into the house until Andy gets there and figures things out. That led us to come up with a much better plan that incident. Anyway, Andy is his successor guardian. His current staff would continue on. His sister, who is already a part-time employee, would sleep at the house overnight, unpaid, unless Ron is awake. We have an emergency team, and that team would convene. So that's the one start item his brother has. These are the 10 people that you call and you bring them together and they will help you figure it out. Now, it would be lovely. Many of these individuals and their spouses know Ron well. They would be free to live in the upstairs of the house and be the designated representative. But if that didn't happen, one of the emergency list does work for an agency, and she knows Ron well. If he had to go to an agency, it is the agency I would want Ron supported by. And the emergency team would keep things going until he was able to move into residential life. But as long as mom or dad is alive, we don't plan on Ron moving out of this house. So with that, I think we're going to open up to questions.
This is Brenda from Applied Self-Direction. There's been a couple of comments, and I'll invite other people to use the chat for this purpose as well, because I think that one of the things Victoria really talked about was how the support manual is the backbone of what they do. And it struck me that one of the beautiful parts about it being in Google is how searchable it is. So you could just search for that word instantly if you were stuck on something, you don't have to know where it is. I thought that
Toilet,
was really
baby, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Another family on the line mentioned a tool that they use. So I'm going to put it in the chat. It was called a Danny Plan.
Yes.
And that was a comment that you got, but certainly the chat is here for all of us. So if other families have suggestions, if you have a support manual you've used, or if you're thinking about using one, feel free to put the tool that you use in the chat as well, because this is our time to ask questions and collaborate. So that was one compliment and addition I wanted to add. I think that as someone who was a pioneer in the Missouri program, there's so many families on the line that are new in the last few months, the last year, that are thinking of self-directing. Do you have any, and certainly the team too, right? Jesse and Ari, I know you help other families who get started. Is there anything you would share that you wish you knew when you were just setting up a plan for the first time?
Jesse, you this was 25 years ago for me. You have worked with a lot of newer families. Why don't you speak first?
I think it's really challenging for a lot of families that are first coming out of the high school age era to realize how much planning goes into transitioning to adulthood, and getting started with just in general life after high school or life with self-directed supports. So I would say one thing that a lot of families wish they did was start planning earlier, and connect with agencies and resources and helpful people earlier in life to start that process.
I have to say that my husband and I had mentors, Ann and Rod Turnbull at KU, were doing this with their son 10 years before we were. And there's a video called Creating an Enviable Life that I would highly recommend. You can find it on YouTube. And it talks about how bad the transition was. And they were down, their son was, Jay, was kicked out of the group home and kicked out of the shelter workshop. And there was one good thing in his life per week, 1 hour of music therapy. And how they went on to create a life for him with meaningful activities, connections, um, and support. So I would really recommend that people watch that video when they're in their planning phase. I actually made an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. chart for the week, and we built out his schedule hour by hour when we were starting. I did have the community specialist in that year before, and that's when we wrote the manual. And we
Um,
only had 6 to 8 hours the first few years, so we we only had one staff in the beginning.
Victoria, for clarity, there's a couple of people that want to make sure that it's Anne Turnbull. Is that
Yes.
right? Great.
Yeah.
I'll drop the link in here. She has a couple of different kind of TED Talk type things she's done with it, and I'll drop it in the group chat in just a second. So great. So the questions are coming in. Oh, somebody's already answered for us. Okay, great. So let's start with this one. It sounds like you have a constant changing roster of support workers. How many concurrent workers are too few to meet Ron's needs, and how many would be too many?
We currently have 10. I think the lead, since Ron currently has 18 hours a day of support. Since he's had that level of support, I don't think we've had fewer than 8, and we have had up to 13, 14. People who are at different stages in their life, like when I have an athlete and it's their off season, they want to work a lot, and then not so much when they're playing baseball in the spring. But because we schedule on a semester basis, I'm asking people to commit for a semester. Everybody who works with him right now, I'm trying to think. Everybody's been here at least 2 years. So it's not a constantly changing roster. It's 2 to 7 years, I think, is what the 10 people who are working with him right now have been with him. Now, I have 3 people who will graduate in a year, but we have plenty of time. And they also help recruit new staff. And they're like, come visit. Just come visit with Ron, which is fine with me. In an agency, you wouldn't have somebody invite a friend over for a movie night. That's how Ron's network of people grows. Okay, I'm hoping I answered that.
I love it. I love it, Victoria. One of our colleagues often says she also tells her staff that she jokingly expects them to replace themselves because they know best what they've done. And so I think that's a great pattern. Let's stay with that theme for a minute. Question from the audience: what are some of the challenges that you've had with staff hiring and changes?
We've had some issues with our FMS. We've, I don't know if people in other states have this situation. In Missouri, when you have the waiver, you have to use whatever state insurance benefits that are available to you. And so that's some number of hours of home health care. Because the home health care agency pays much lower, and because the training and skill level of the staff is difficult. It's difficult for them to handle Ron's complexity. Early on, I decided I wasn't going to have agency staff and waiver staff. I found an agency who would let me hire, who would let me send the paperwork to them, and they would employ them. So Erie works 1 hour a day for the home health care agency, and the rest of her hours are on the waiver. And we figure out wages by what the average of that is when I make a job offer. It's just we found a really good agency who is quite willing to be the flow through, and they do all the training that they require. But that's what's worked for us. But it is having somebody sit down and fill out 2 sets of paperwork, a lot of which is the same. I recently had to let someone go. It was a brand new staff that I thought was going to work 2 shifts a week. And it just wasn't a good fit. It's probably the 3rd time I've done that in 25 years. And it's very hard. Letting someone go is very hard for me emotionally. This individual had a disability that made it not possible for her to meet the core component of the job, which is to support Ron without anybody else in the house. So we talked about it. We went our separate ways. She was a delightful person, but it just wasn't going to work out. I'm going to Brenda
Yeah.
or Nez.
Victoria, you have so many questions here. I'm trying to pick the ones that we haven't touched on. This one I think is really important. And if you don't know the answer, it's okay. I've heard several folks express the concerns that they are likely to precede the person whose services they supervisor. Are you aware of any services that oversee the stewardship of self-direction for situation like these?
So I'm part of I created an organization with some other parents, so that I was getting so many phone calls that I couldn't manage it and work full time. So I found some other moms that I had helped, and we created an organization for new parents and just to network and to share information. And we've explored that as an organization. What do you do? There are, like, we looked into what microboards look like. We have some families. In fact, there was a posting today saying, I'm looking for 2 roommates to live with my son. He works part-time and blah, 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 blah. Jesse, do you want to talk about the one family you have who has their daughter not living with them?
Sure. Before I say that, there's a couple different questions. Sorry, Brenda, and to hop in and take your job, but I just wanted
Please
to
do,
answer these
please.
really quickly.
Thank
Lots of
you.
people asking about recruiting and where you find employees or what tools do you use. So as the organization MoSDS, we have a subscription to Handshake, the job posting board. And so we allow our members to post ads through Handshake under our like organization umbrella. So we do get a number of applications from colleges, from local colleges on Handshake. But it was sort of mentioned earlier, really a lot of recruiting is done from former employees to new employees. So, oh, I have a friend, or oh, I have another person in my program that's looking for a job. Um, but but the options are endless for where to find employees at your church, at your school, at your local YMCA. You know, people have been very creative on who they ask and where they're looking for employees, but we have recently been using Handshake. Okay, so the
Just
housing
for colleges.
for college students, yes.
And you have to be an organization.
Right.
Individual parents can't go and post.
Yes, so members of our organization under our umbrella can post. So the housing situation, I had a client who her parent purchased
I think that parent is on the call.
Oh, really? Purchased a condo near their house where she lives independently with staff. It's been a really good situation because she's nearby for oversight and it's been able to qualify for, you know, full-time hours that way.
Someone asked about the amount of time it takes me to oversee everything. And because I'm a special educator and I'm data driven, I can tell you it averages 1 hour per day, 30 hours a month. But that's because everything's set up. It's a lot of work in the beginning to get systems in place. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you can't expect it to work seamlessly in the beginning. Am I concerned with the new administration? I'm concerned for other families. I don't think that someone who's had a waiver slot for 25 years is going to suddenly lose it. But earlier this year, there were 1,800 people on a waiting list in Missouri. And I don't think they're going to reduce funding either, because it's we just wrote his ISP. It's everything is justified. ISP, individual support plans, families in our group are typically offered the opportunity to learn how to write their own ISP and then send it to the case manager as a draft. So Ron's ISP is 35 pages long. And it has goals that justify the services he receives.
Well, I just want to echo one of the comments here, which is really this has been outstanding that you've shared so many tips and tricks. And I think one of the things I love the most about the tools that you've developed is that you start to envision how you can apply them, you know, with individuals you've worked with. And I think we could have we could have opened this up and shared with each other for hours. So I just really, really want to say thank you. We will keep this conversation going. I'm going to let Ines close us out.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you to our speakers for your expertise and time. A quick survey will pop up on your screen following the webinar. There's 2 more sessions left if you want to register for them on appliedselfdirection.com. Thank you again. We are so grateful, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you.